Volker, back to my channel where your nightmares come to life. Once upon a time, on a rainy evening in September, Emily Carter sat alone in her living room, staring at the shadows on the wall. The sound of raindrops tapping against the window was almost comforting. Yet there was something unsettling about the silence that followed between each drop. Her fingers tightened around the coffee mug in her hands, though she hadn't taken a sip in over an hour. Tonight was supposed to be ordinary. Tonight was supposed to be safe. But the silence felt alive, as if it were waiting for something she couldn't see. Emily wasn't the kind of woman who scared easily. At 32, she had lived through heartbreak, debts, and sleepless nights that taught her to be strong. She was a teacher, someone who held her ground in front of restless children every day, yet inside her heart, she carried scars no one else could see. Her marriage had ended 2 years ago, leaving her to raise her 9-year-old daughter, Lily, mostly alone. Still, Emily smiled through it, pretending life was steady, pretending she didn't miss the warmth of someone waiting for her at night. But tonight, the house felt wrong. Lily was asleep upstairs, her soft breathing a faint reassurance. Emily leaned back in the chair, trying to convince herself that the strange feeling in her chest was nothing but nerves. Maybe it was the storm outside. Maybe it was exhaustion. But then she heard its footsteps, slow, heavy, coming from the hallway. Her breath caught. For a moment, she didn't move. The mug trembled slightly in her hand. She told herself it must have been the house settling, the wood creaking because of the rain. She stood up carefully, each movement deliberate, and stepped toward the sound. Her socks brushed against the wooden floor, silent but cautious. She glanced down the hallway, empty. Her eyes searched the shadows, trying to find meaning in the darkness, but there was nothing. No one. Emily forced a laugh, though it sounded more like a whisper to herself. "You're imagining things?" She turned back toward the living room, ready to shake it off. That's when she noticed something strange. The photo frame on the shelf, one that held a picture of her, Lily, and her ex-husband, taken years ago, was tilted sideways, as if someone had brushed against it. She froze. She hadn't touched that frame in months. Her pulse quickened. Emily stepped closer, her fingers brushing the edge of the frame. Her reflection in the glass looked pale, uncertain. And then she heard the footsteps again. This time, closer. Right behind her. Intermission, 30 seconds narration pause. The room is silent except for the storm. Emily isn't sure if she's losing her mind, or if someone is really inside her house. But what she's about to discover will change everything. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning. She spun around, her breath sharp. The hallway was still empty, but the air felt colder. Emily's instincts screamed at her to check on Lily. She hurried upstairs, her hand gripping the railing so tightly her knuckles whitened. Every creak of the steps felt louder than her own heartbeat. When she pushed open Lily's bedroom door, relief washed over her. Her daughter was curled beneath the blankets, her hair spread across the pillow like a halo. Safe, peaceful, untouched. Emily let out a shaky breath. She walked over and tucked the blanket around Lily tighter, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. For a moment, she almost convinced herself everything was fine, until she saw the window. It was open. Wide open. Rain splattered against the floor, soaking the carpet. Emily's chest tightened. She remembered clearly locking every window before bed. She had checked twice, habit, routine, safety. And yet, here it was, yawning open to the night. Her mind raced. Did she forget? Or had someone opened it from outside? She closed the window quickly, her hands trembling as she slid the latch into place. She scanned the backyard through the glass, but the storm blurred everything, leaving only the vague shape of trees swaying in the wind. Her reflection stared back at her, haunted and uncertain. Emily sat on the edge of Lily's bed, watching her daughter sleep, and tried to quiet her breathing. She couldn't call the police, not yet. What would she even say? "I heard footsteps and found a window open." They'd tell her it was nothing. And maybe it was. Maybe she was just tired. But then her phone buzzed. Emily flinched, pulling it from her pocket. An unknown number. The screen glowed in the dark room. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the screen, before finally answering. "Hello," she whispered. At first, only silence. Then, a voice, low calm, to calm. "You shouldn't be awake, Emily." Her blood turned cold. She froze, unable to speak. The line clicked. The call ended. Emily stared at the phone, her hands shaking violently. She tried to steady herself, but the fear sank deep, spreading like ice in her veins. Whoever it was, they knew her name. They knew she was awake. She rushed to the door, locking it from inside, and pressed her ear to the wood, listening for any sound in the house. Nothing, only the rain, but she couldn't shake the feeling. The footsteps, the window, the voice. Someone had been here. Maybe still was. Her eyes darted around the room, landing on the old wooden wardrobe in the corner. It was closed. Too perfectly closed. Her chest rose and fell in sharp bursts. Every instinct screamed at her not to open it, not to check, but she knew she couldn't ignore it. She stood slowly, her legs weak beneath her. She reached for the wardrobe handle, her fingers trembling. For a moment, she closed her eyes, praying it was empty, praying she was wrong. Then she pulled it open. Inside was nothing but clothes, dresses, coats, shoes, and then a single folded note, tucked carefully between the hangers. Emily's hand shook as she pulled it free. On the front, in messy handwriting, were 3 words that made her knees buckle. "I see you." Her heart stopped. Once upon a time, on a rainy evening in September, Emily Carter sat alone in her living room, staring at the shadows on the wall. The sound of raindrops tapping against the window was almost comforting. But the grey clouds that threatened to engulf the sky mirrored the turmoil in her heart. Her daughter, Lily, slept soundly in the room upstairs. It had been a year since her husband, David, had passed away, leaving Emily to navigate the labyrinth of their lives alone. Tonight, however, felt different. An unsettling feeling of dread had been clinging to her like a shroud all day, intensifying with each passing hour. As dusk settled in, the wind outside picked up, rattling the window panes and sending shivers down Emily's spine. Suddenly, amidst the symphony of rain and wind, she thought she heard footsteps. Footsteps in the house. Emily froze, her eyes darting around the room. Could it be? Had someone entered the house? She strained to listen, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The footsteps came again, slow and deliberate, echoing through the silent house. This time there was no mistaking it. Someone was inside, but Emily was not alone. Her daughter, Lily, slept peacefully upstairs. Hadn't she locked the front door before retiring for the night? These questions raced through her mind, each one amplifying her fear. But when she called out, her voice trembling, there was no response. Only silence answered her. Perplexed and petrified, Emily decided to investigate. She slowly got up from the couch, her eyes fixed on the staircase leading to the 2nd floor. With each step she took, the sound of her own footsteps seemed to amplify, drowning out the eerie silence that had descended upon the house. As she climbed the stairs, her gaze fell on a family photo frame hanging crookedly on the wall. A wave of dizziness washed over her. Wasn't that picture straight when she had last looked at it? What was happening? She stood frozen at the top of the stairs, listening intently. The footsteps had stopped. Had she imagined it? The thought flickered through her mind, but the image of the crooked picture frame served as a stark reminder that she was not alone. Nerves on edge, she walked towards Lily's room, her hand shaking as she reached for the doorknob. Pushing the door open, she saw the window wide open, letting in the cold night air and rain. Emily gasped. She had specifically locked it before tucking her daughter into bed. Why would Lily leave the window open? And how could she have possibly done so without waking up? Confusion and worry battled within her. As she rushed to close the window, a scrap of paper fluttered to the floor, catching her eye. Emily bent down to pick it up. It was a folded note, and as she unfolded it, the words leaped out at her, scrawled in what seemed like a childish hand. "I see you," it read. A scream caught in Emily's throat. Who was playing this sinister game, and why? Was someone watching her, lurking in the shadows, observing her every move? The thought sent a chill down her spine. Who could be doing this, and why? These questions echoed in her mind, finding no answers in the windswept darkness. Millie's hands trembled as she tried to regain her composure. Locking the window securely, she turned to leave, only to freeze in her tracks. The rocking horse in the corner of the room, which she had placed there for Lily, was now facing the opposite direction. It had been placed there as a surprise, and Lily had no reason to turn it around. Her mind reeled. Was she losing her sanity? Or was there a logical explanation for these strange occurrences? The rational part of her wanted to believe it was just her imagination playing tricks. But the unsettling events of the evening refused to be dismissed. Just then, her phone rang, startling her. The caller ID displayed an unknown number. Hesitantly, she answered, her voice shaking slightly. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was low and distorted, sending shivers down her spine. "You shouldn't be awake, Emily," it said, the words dripping with malice. Before Emily could respond, the caller hung up. Her heart pounded against her chest, threatening to burst out of her ribcage. Who was this person? Did they know her? And if so, how did they know that she was awake? Fear coiled in her stomach, squeezing the breath out of her lungs. Shaking, she ended the call and stared at the phone, as if it held the answers to these terrifying riddles. But it was silent, offering no further insights into the cryptic message. Emily felt a sudden urge to check on her daughter, to make sure she was safe. She rushed back to Lily's room, her eyes scanned the darkness, half expecting to find something, anything, that could explain what was happening. But the room was still, the rocking horse still mockingly facing the wrong way. She approached the bed, her hand hovering over Lily's sleeping face. Her daughter looked peaceful, her breathing soft and even. Thank God she was fine. Emily whispered, more to herself than to Lily, a sob catching in her throat. Froze. The rest of the night passed without incident, or so Emily thought. Just as dawn began to break, casting weak fingers of sunlight through the curtains, she heard it again, those dreaded footsteps. They seemed closer this time, as if someone was walking right outside her bedroom door. Emily froze, her blood running cold. This time, though, there was a new sound, a man's voice whispering just outside her door. "Let me in, Emily. Please let me in." The voice was ragged, desperate, and it sent a fresh wave of terror crashing over her. She huddled under the covers, her eyes squeezed shut, willing the nightmare to end. But the voice persisted, growing louder, more insistent. "Let me in, Emily. I need your help." Then, as abruptly as it started, it stopped. Silence descended once more, broken only by the chirping of birds outside. Had she imagined it? The thought crossed her mind, but the terror it brought was quickly replaced by a surge of protective anger. Whoever was out there needed to stop this charade. Emily was done being scared. With newfound determination, she got out of bed and went to the window. Pulling back the curtains, she looked out, searching for any sign of movement. But the street below was empty, deserted as if no one had ever been there. She checked the locks on the window and the door, ensuring they were secure. Then she went downstairs to make some coffee, trying to shake off the lingering fear. But as she made her way to the kitchen, she noticed something. On the table lay a single white rose, its petals unfurled and pristine. But Emily knew she had not placed it there. She lived alone. Who would have put the flower there? Was it real or some macabre prank? Driven by morbid curiosity, she touched it, and her fingers brushed against something hard. Hidden within the layers of the rose was a small object wrapped in plastic. Curiosity and dread warred within her, but the latter won out. With shaking hands, she unwrapped the plastic to reveal a key. But Emily knew this key. It was the key to the antique box that held her late husband's belongings. How did this get here? Her mind reeled. It couldn't be a coincidence. There was something more, something sinister lurking beneath these strange occurrences. Emily's heart hammered in her chest, each thud echoing the mounting dread within her. This was more than a prank. Someone was deliberately targeting her, and the stakes seemed to be rising with each passing moment. Emily felt a surge of protectiveness for her daughter Lily, who was blissfully unaware of the danger that seemed to be enveloping them. What was happening? Who was behind all this, and why? These questions swirled in Emily's mind, demanding answers. Emily was determined to get to the bottom of this, to uncover the truth behind these terrifying events. But where to start? She paced her living room, the key to the antique box clutched tightly in her hand. The realization dawned on her. Perhaps the key was the answer, the link to the strange events unfolding around her. But how? With trembling hands, she went to the box, its surface worn with time and memories. Inserting the key, she turned it, and the box creaked open, revealing the secrets it had held for so long. Inside lay old photographs, letters tied with faded ribbon, and a journal, its pages filled with her husband's familiar handwriting. Emily's heart ached with a mixture of love and longing. But there was more. Tucked away in a corner, she found a newspaper clipping. The headline was stark, the date long past. But the article sent a shiver down her spine. It told the story of a house on Willow Creek Lane, the same street she lived on, and the mysterious disappearance of its owner. The details were chillingly familiar, mirroring her own situation. Emily's grip tightened on the clipping as she read further. The missing person was named Edward Carter, and the date of his disappearance was September, exactly 1 year ago. And then she saw the photograph of Edward Carter, her Edward, smiling back at her, his eyes full of life. His presence a haunting echo of the man she loved. Emily felt the blood drain from her face. Could this be a coincidence? She delved deeper into the clipping and the contents of the box. Emily uncovered a hidden chapter of her husband's life, a secret that he had kept from her. And as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, she realized the truth was far more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. Someone was watching her, and they had been watching her for a very long time. But who was it, and what did they want? The thought echoed in Emily's mind, weaving a tapestry of fear and determination. Find out the truth, even if it meant confronting the darkest corners of her heart and the deepest secrets of her past. Emily's resolve hardened. She would honor her husband's memory and protect her daughter's future by uncovering the truth, no matter how painful it might be. With a primal scream that tore through the house, she lunged for Lily's room, slamming the door behind her. Her heart pounded against her ribs, threatening to burst free. As she curled up on the floor beside her sleeping daughter, Emily Carter knew one thing for sure. That house was no longer a sanctuary. It had become a prison, trapping her in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. Thanks for watching.